We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Tank Davis, Lamont Roach, the fake controversy. In this video, your boy Ego will break it down and show you that you don't know about boxing. I will prove it. But first, let me put this out here. Before I prove it, I have to give you guys this quick PSA. If you are a hater, click off of this video. If you are not open-minded and you cannot listen, or if you have selective hearing and you do not have comprehension skills, this is not the right video for you. So if you don't like Tank, you're a Tank hater, you're not realistic. If you don't know ish about boxing, you're not willing to learn. If any of these things apply to you, you will not understand this video. I am not making this video for you. I'm making it for real boxing fans, because believe it or not, there's a lot of people that want to learn boxing. They want to understand. And there's so much fraudulent content in the space of boxing. It's really paints the sport in a bad light. And it's kind of laughable if we're being real, right? And I want you guys to, give me a fair shake. I'll break it down. People they abuse certain words in boxing, like robbery. If it's a close fight, then it can't be a robbery, right? For example, 2024 Olympics, they had Noah Lyles, and there was this race that he won, and the dudes were booking. Everybody was running. They had a good stride. And this was the famous picture. You see how close it is. Like, you see multiple people who are extremely close to winning, right? So picture that Noah Lyles race, but in boxing, where if something is close, saying it was a robbery. When you see, like, only in boxing do people do this. When you watch a race and you see it's like, man, this guy barely edged him by point ... of a millisecond or a second, right? You give it credit and say, hey, that was close. But only in boxing, because it's a quote unquote passion sport, do people act like idiots and abandon all logic. If you're a beta male, you're not going to like this video. If you have no comprehension skills, you're not going to like this video. If you're a Tank hater, you're not going to like this video. And not everything is a robbery, point blank, period. So I'm going to dive in and break down the scoring, because I noticed there is a fluke. There is a flaw in the argument of many. People are making it sound like this is a type of fight that didn't even occur, right? They're turning this into like it's Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker versus Julio Cesar Chavez. That is a real true robbery. This wasn't that, and it was not even close. And I don't think a lot of people truly know how to score boxing. And first of all, it's 12 rounds. They don't know how to score in general, and they use their heart. They use emotion, and that's how they try to break down fights. That is not how you actually score boxing. So it's understandable why those individuals are left confused and befuddled and bewildered when outcomes are rendered. They don't understand how Tank won on a scorecard or how it was a majority draw. And I actually had Tank winning. But again, people listen to commentators, they listen to other athletes. Some of these people have ulterior motives. Like, there's a lot of guys who have told you, like Terrence Crawford, he told you in a recent interview, I just don't like Tank. I don't like this guy, right? So are we really going to turn to Terrence Crawford's tweet about the guy he said he doesn't like and his close fight, and we're going to use that as if he's going to give it a fair shake? It's funny because Terrence himself, his very last fight, many people thought it was a close fight, and the Israel Madrimov fight could have went either way. But of course, Terrence Crawford is not going to say that about himself. He's going to be like, nah, I clearly won, right? But then the rest of the world is saying it was close. There's a lot of people, I even seen people say Madrimov won. So that's where we're at when it comes to boxing. But Tank Roach, I'm not going to say anything bad about either person. Roach, he impressed people. People counted him out like he was soft and like he couldn't fight. And it's funny to me because the same individuals who did count him out and berated him, they said he sucks. He was a cherry pick. Tank needs to pick better ops. He's a bum. He's a taxi driver. Tank is fighting a little guy. They completely wrote him off. Now, all of a sudden, they got Lamont Roach pom-poms and they're waving them and they're acting like they're advocates for Lamont Roach. But they're not advocates for Lamont Roach, because if you really, truly appreciated Lamont Roach as a fighter, you would have been checking for him. He had been with Golden Boy. You didn't care about him. He got released. He had some fights with like Hector Luis Garcia on the PBC card. Did good in that fight. Dropped Hector Luis Garcia. He had a fight on Pro Box. But I know you guys don't know boxing. You don't really watch boxing. So you wrote the guy off. You know, meanwhile, me, that's who. I was like, don't count this guy out. Like, this is a good fight. This could be something. Like, it could be a tougher fight for Tank because styles make fights. Tank seems like he does better when the guys are taller. Lamont Roach is like, you know, right around his size, and he can fight and he can box. And I told you that. Meanwhile, you guys were slighting him and saying he was a cherry pick and all this stuff, right? So it was never a cherry pick. He was always a good fighter. Plus, he has the backstory. He sparred, knew Tank from the amateurs, whatever. So he knew Tank and knew things about Tank and like probably little subtleties that if you get in the ring with Tank and you never, like Frank Martin, you know, sparred with Tank before, but not enough like to probably gauge where he's at, you know what I mean? Because I only think they sparred once. But I'm gonna break down these scorecards again. Just give me a fair shake, let me break it down, open your mind, and I'll explain it. And lastly, before I dive in, what I need from boxing fans is stop allowing people to brainwash you that aren't even willing to explain themselves. When I make a point, because I am held to a standard, I am elite, I am the greatest, I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. So I don't just bump gums and talk about it. I will show you, and I'm getting ready to show you how to score a fight and why Tank winning or even the draw is not really a far-fetched thing, right? And there's a lot of people who instead they go for low-hanging fruit. It's seemingly fashionable to hate on Tank and things like that, and that's what they elect to do. But on my channel, I'm not doing that. We're not just gonna hate on somebody for the sake of hating on somebody, and I'm not gonna dog out Lamont Roach either. He didn't do anything wrong. He did his thing. He came to fight. He made it a better fight than people thought he was capable of even doing, and that's cool. But because you do that doesn't mean you win the fight. You know, I think people expected him to have no moments, and Tank got to realize this too. You know, being fair, he got to realize that when you're in this position, and you're so high up that people truly want to see you lose, and you're just going to be held to a different standard. Shakur Stevenson can go the distance in all of his fights, and people will be like, oh, that's just his style. But Tank, being a knockout artist, he's automatically held to a different standard. If he doesn't hurt or stop somebody, they're looking at it as the guy is like winning just off of that, which is not right, because again, that's not how you score. You don't score with, oh, Tank got power in mind, so if he can't hurt Lamont Roach, or if he doesn't hurt him bad enough, or he don't stop him, then he lost. But again, when you're great, that's what people tend to do. When Floyd Mayweather fought Miguel Cotto and Cotto bloodied his nose, that's like a moral victory for Cotto. Cotto easily lost the fight. Easily. Floyd was getting busy, sharp work. But people seeing Floyd with a bloody nose, and they're not used to seeing him with a bloody nose, they're like, Cotto got him. Cotto won. Watch that fight again. He definitely didn't win. And people were even saying, I remember at the time, they were saying the Cotto fight was a robbery. When Floyd Mayweather fought Maidana, the first fight, he had a busted lip. Good fight. He had a cut, busted lip. Rest in peace to Rafael Garcia. Did a great job with that cut. People say, oh, look, Floyd got a busted lip. He lost to Maidana. Rematch, beat him even easier. So hopefully Tank does rematch Lamont Roach, and we get that. He said that he might fight someone else before that, but hopefully we get at some point a Lamont Roach fight in the near future. You know what I mean? But you guys have to learn how to score a fight. People, and it's always people, because there's nothing like big league, big star boxing. It's just different. UFC, all that stuff is different. There's nothing that can compare to big boxing and big boxing events, period, on that bright stage. So everybody, you start seeing the influx of people who opine on boxing. But I guarantee you, if they come up in here, like let's say they join my live and I gave them a quiz and I said, who is this fighter? Who is this fighter? Name the last 3 fights this person, they would fail because they don't really know boxing. So you could take it from me, someone who does this every single day, or you could believe whoever you want. You could go off me and what I'm saying and showing you, which I'm about to do. Or you could go off the people who just say, shut up, ego. Tank lost. You're mad Tank lost. Tank took a knee. We know he took a knee. That's common knowledge at this point. No breakdown, just pure beta male emotion. Notice me. I'm calm. I'm serene. I'm educated. I'm speaking eloquent. I'm not blowing a gasket. I'm not name calling. I'm not cussing. I'm just breaking down boxing. But I guarantee you, there'll be comments that say, ego, shut up. Ego, you don't know nothing about boxing. Ego this. Tank lost. Tank took a knee. You'll see comments like that, but they still won't prove me wrong. They still won't tell me their scorecard, round 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. They'll just continue to parrot the same things that they always say, which shows me they don't know about boxing. If you truly knew boxing, tell me what rounds you gave to Lamont Roach. From start to finish, write every single round that Lamont Roach won. And then when they start doing that, you as a fan go to Amazon Prime and watch the replay like I did and match it up. So if they say I gave Lamont Roach the first 6 rounds, hypothetically, go rewatch the first 6 rounds, and then you'll see that these people are haters that don't know about boxing, because Tank virtually won all of the first 6 rounds. He definitely won the majority of them. Just in that, Lamont Roach needs a knockout to win, because even if Lamont Roach wins 7 through 12, that's only a draw. It's a 12-round fight. You didn't get credit for the knockdown. That's a Steve Willis call, but he didn't rule it like that. You got to live with that. How many times have we seen boxing where a referee makes a mistake? Referee lets Tyson Fury get up, and he should have called the fight off in the first Wilder fight, right? Long count. Gave Fury time to recuperate. We see these things happen in boxing. Usyk gets punched on the belt line. They say it's a low blow, right? We've seen these things. But with Tank, since y'all got so much disdain and hate for him, it just is amplified. So without further ado, let's get it cracking. So Boxing Ego has obtained an official copy of the 3 assigned judges' scorecards. Now, mind you, do not jump ahead. Understand that boxing is scored round after round. You don't know what's going to happen in the next round, and your scorecard needs to be completed before you enter the next round. Meaning, whatever happened in round 1, ding, 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 they go to their corners for a minute. Before round 2 commences, you should have your scorecard for, while it's fresh on your mind, for who won round 1, and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind. Now we get to the fun stuff. So right off rip, we noticed the judges gave round 1 to Lamont Roach. And watch it again, I thought Tank Davis won round 1, but the 3 judges actually gave that to Lamont Roach. But now you start to see where there's definite problems, because the second round, you have Glenn Feldman, the judge, gave it to Lamont Roach, while the other 2 judges, Steve Weisfeld and Eric Marlinsky, gave it to Tank. In fact, when we're looking at the other judges, they had their cards kind of similar, if you will, right? Where Eric Marlinsky and Steve Weisfeld, they gave Tank round, well, let's start with Eric Marlinsky. He gave round 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to Gervonta Davis. Steve Weisfeld gave 2 through 6 to Gervonta Davis. Now, if you rewatch the fight, that is not out of the realm of possibilities. I thought Tank was definitely winning the first half of the fight. Mind you, the whole hair grease, take a knee or whatever fiasco did not occur until the 9th round. So by that time, these rounds were already scored. And you don't go back in the race, oh, there's controversy now because the referee didn't count it as a knockdown, so now my scorecard is null and void. That's not what happens. Now, I know there's going to be some people who think they can outsmart me. Not likely. So they're going to say, oh man, but the judges were paid off, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? PBC's unofficial judge had a very similar scorecard. Larry Hazard, who has been in the business for several years, gave Gervonta Davis round 1, round 3, round 4, round 5, and round 6. And then he actually gave Lamont Roach round 2. So once again, these judges gave round 1 to Lamont Roach. The unofficial PBC, Larry Hazard, gave round 1 to Tank, which is what I said earlier. I thought Tank won that round. So the judges, the official judges, right, they gave rounds 2 through 6 to Tank Davis, right? So what does this mean? It means most mother don't know ish about boxing, and they sure enough don't. Lamont Roach is already down bad, all things considered, right? Because Larry Hazard's scorecard gave Tank 5 out of the first 6 rounds, right? This was before the 9th round even commenced, where you had the whole take a knee incident. Tank won 5. 2 of the 3 judges, the official judges, gave Tank 5 out of the first 6 rounds. Now, there's 12 rounds 12 rounds in a boxing championship fight, 12 rounds, half of that would be 6, right? So if you win half of the rounds, which would be 6 out of 12, automatically you have a draw. If you win 6 rounds and your opponent wins 6 rounds, it's a draw. The 2 judges that were officially judging and then the PBC judge had eerily similar, and it had pretty much Tank sweeping the first, at least 5 out of the first 6 rounds. You could also make an argument for Tank winning the second round, which Larry Hazard, the PBC judge, didn't have. And round 1, the official judges gave it to Lamont Roach. So if you had that slightly different and gave Tank the first 6, he automatically is already at a draw. He already won 6. Now, that means Lamont Roach would have to win 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and round 12 consecutively. There was no point in this fight where Lamont Roach won 5 rounds in a row, let alone 6, which he would need to draw. So you can listen to me, the best in the business, and it's not even close. Somebody who's been doing this for 13 plus years. The reason why people get confused when it comes to boxing is because they don't know what the F they're doing. They don't know how to score. Therefore, if you don't know how to do something, what will you do? You will go off of emotion. You will go off of heart. You will go off how something made you feel. That is not how you score the sport of boxing. Tank was doing very well. If you notice, he seemed, after the thing in his eye and the knee, the grease in his eye or whatever, he seemed less focused after that moment. So it could very well have been that whatever embarrassment that caused, or the taking the knee, or his eyes burning, maybe it just threw him off his game plan. And then for the remainder of the fight, he fought kind of a bit more undisciplined. And credit to Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach picked it up and he did good in spots. But Lamont Roach was not the aggressor throughout the first 6 rounds of this fight. He did not win more rounds in the first 6. Again, 3 people who are paid to officiate and produce scorecards all had Tank winning 5 out of the first 6. And I'm telling you myself, I had him winning really the first 6 rounds easy. You know what I mean? There was like maybe a little bit resistance, but Lamont Roach did better in the back half of the fight. But as I said earlier, quiet rounds versus loud rounds, that doesn't matter. It is round by round scoring. You add up your score and tabulate it at the end, and whatever that is, then guess what? That's what it is, period. So I'm trying to tell you guys how this stuff works. People are like, this is outrageous, Tank lost. You could listen to people who are going off of hatred, emotion, inexperience. They don't know what they're talking about. Or you could listen to somebody who does this. This is why some people don't know how to score. So anytime you have close fights, it automatically becomes a robbery because they're going off of emotion. I told you before, there's a lot of content creators who play off emotion. It's like Pennywise, how he feasts off the fears of the children in Derry, right? And you have content creators who do that and fans who buy into it as well. So if you can rile them up, then that's all they care about. They don't care if it makes sense. I told you at the beginning, nobody's going to make it make more sense than me from the rules of boxing. Most of the people saying Tank lost, Tank lost, Tank lost, they're not even explaining it. They're not doing what I am doing and willing to do. They're not telling you, I gave Lamont Roach round 1, 3, 5, 6, 7. They don't have scorecards. They have emotions. And as a man, that makes you a beta male if you rely more on your emotions than what the reality is. Like, for example, I'm a content creator. Sometimes I don't feel like making content, but I owe it to the public. This is my job. So whether I want to make content or if I don't feel in the mood to make content, guess what? I got to do it. That's called discipline, right? And it's no different. You know, a lot of people, they're like, oh man, Tank, it was a robbery. They're not willing to break it down. They're not showing you what their scorecard is. They just want to say it because for them, it becomes comfort food, right? And that's where boxing fans got to demand more. Don't just accept somebody feeding you something, including myself. But once again, I'm showing you the receipts. I'm showing you the judge's scorecard. I'm showing how we arrived here, right? I'm not just saying Tank lost and that's it. Lamont Roach robbery. Anybody can do that. That becomes very easy to do when it's just words that you're throwing out with no explanation, no receipts. Lamont Roach, he did fine. He did good work. He was trying. Credit to him. But in scoring of boxing, you could be an 80-1 underdog. You don't get extra credit for being an 80-1 underdog and doing better than people expected. If you're Tank and you're known for knocking out people and hurting people, you don't lose credit or automatically lose the round because you aren't able to badly hurt the person and or knock them out. That is not how you score boxing. So you're not penalized because that would be unfair. Guys like Shakur Stevenson rarely knock out foes with full camps, right? So Tank is held to a different standard being a knockout artist. People assume that because he didn't knock a guy out, oh, he lost the round. Or because his opponent is providing resistance or countering. And then they just abandon all logic and they just start going with their mind and what they believe and saying it's outrageous and it's a robbery. But I can assure you, it wasn't even that type of fight. If we want to talk about robbery, for me, a fight that actually just happened on a Turkey Al-Sheikh card that was a robbery is the fight with Carlos Adames, who is the champion, and he was fighting a Muslim fighter, and he was fighting the Muslim fighter in a Muslim country, Saudi Arabia, and they had him with a majority draw. How's the champion getting a majority draw? Seems like in these situations, you would probably give the benefit of the doubt if it was a close round to the champion. So how did the challenger, who happened to be Muslim in a Muslim country, how did he get the benefit of the doubt? You know, then you have this video that surfaced where Turkey was in the corner of the fighter Hamza Shiraz, who happens to be a Riyadh season ambassador, and he was telling the team they're down and they need to knock out Carlos Adames, which he could not do. So if he was down, how did he score a draw? His own team says you basically need a knockout to win. So that is an example of a majority draw that wasn't a draw. Carlos Adames straight out won the fight. Now, because people hate Tank, they are saying that Tank lost and it was a clear-cut robbery and stuff. But I guarantee you, these are casuals and or haters of Tank, and they're not breaking down their rounds. I have yet to see somebody tell me what rounds in the first 6 rounds they gave to Lamont Roach. Again, the hair grease, taking a knee, that didn't even happen until the 9th round. And it was, for me, it was at that point where Tank started almost fighting a bit weird. I don't know why. Maybe that threw him off his game and made him change his strategy. But it seemed like things got a little bit more chaotic. And that's when Lamont Roach picked it up and started doing better in those later rounds. But that wasn't until round 9, right? And even in round 9, when that happened, the referee didn't call it a knockdown. You can't make your own rules up, whether it's a blown call or a mistake or not. The referee has discretion there. So if they didn't call it, you have to actually, on your scorecard, score it however the referee stated. Like Terrence Crawford got knocked down by Mean Machine, but the ref called it a slip. So you can't just say, nah, man, for me, that was a knockdown. That's a 10-8 round. In your head, you can mentally, but you still, as an official scorer of a fight, you have to go with what was ruled, right? It's like a court ruling. A judge says that you got to pay the plaintiff, then you got to pay the plaintiff unless you appeal or something, right? So when the referee had a blown call and said Daniel Dubois' punch on Usyk, that was a belt line shot, was a low blow, guess what? You have to score accordingly. So I'm not hearing any like Tank fans who are saying that was handled properly or a great moment. However, whether you liked it or not, the referee has the discretion to make the call, and the way he handled it, he didn't score it as an official knockdown. Even Lamont Roach, if you watch it back, he didn't celebrate when Tank took a knee because it wasn't caused from a punch. It wasn't like a legal blow landed and then Tank was like, oh, whoa. Like, I could understand if Lamont Roach ripped a body shot, bah, and then Tank took a knee. That makes sense. That's usually when you see people take a knee, like Gervonta Davis when he made Ryan Garcia take a knee. So I believe Tank's story about this hair grease or whatever chemical trickled down to my eye with the sweat and the heat and the lights and stuff, and it made for a bad situation. And instead of getting blindsided by a good fighter who, if you notice, Lamont Roach, he had a mean streak. So on clinches, if he had one hand free, or if Tank was playing around, or if Tank, when Tank jumped up and like shoulder checked him with his free hand, Lamont Roach wasn't tolerating that. So Tank really actually made a good decision to try to take a knee, which then led to confusion and the referee calling it wrong. So guess what? The referee has to eat that one. He caused so much confusion and the referee didn't know. Because like I said, Lamont Roach didn't even celebrate. He didn't celebrate. Like, if he would have landed a body shot and then Tank took a knee, guess what? He'll celebrate. Go rewatch Ryan Garcia when Tank knocked down Ryan Garcia with a body shot, right? Like a true knockdown. Tank had to run to the neutral corner and he was like it was almost like a celebration. There's pictures of it. Lamont Roach, when Tank took the knee, he didn't run to the neutral corner because it wasn't an actual knockdown. And if the ref said it was a knockdown, then you could have made it a knockdown technically. However, it's up to the ref's discretion and he blew the call. So it is what it is. Happens in boxing. There's people who are still mad that Daniel Dubois didn't get credit for a body shot, which would have been a knockout if Usyk couldn't recover in 10 seconds. And he took way more than 10 seconds. So guess what? The show went on and he was able to recover, and then he comes back to knock out Dubois. There's still fans that are angry because Wilder truly knocked Tyson Fury unconscious, and referee Jack Reese in the first fight probably should have stopped it. We might not even be seeing a trilogy. So this type of stuff happens all the time where, a ref or an executive or a commission or a judge makes a call or a premature stoppage that people don't agree with. I'm not denying that. All I'm saying is rules are rules. And if the ref messed it up, the ref messed it up. I mean, what do you want to do? Like, it is what it is. You can't really go back in time. Everybody was confused. Like I said, if Lamont Roach thought he scored a knockdown, I'm pretty sure him knowing the rules, he would have went to the neutral corner so the ref could administer the count. But he looked as shocked and in the dark about why Tank even did that. So there's a lot of people who are posting the picture and using the picture for their thumbnail. Like, oh yeah, they are so happy at this fight. Like, Tank scored a majority draw. Yes. Like, this is something to celebrate. It's kind of funny. And it's rather pitiful that people are so miserable and got so much disdain for dude that this becomes a highlight of their life because Tank has a draw. He didn't lose. He's still a champion. He still has his belt. If guys think they can beat him now, then yeah, make the fight. but it is what it is. Lamont Roach didn't go to the neutral corner. He didn't celebrate. He didn't smile like, yeah, I dropped him, right? It looked like he was just as confused as everybody else watching it. So it was just such a bizarre situation. It was mishandled, and that's what it is. So there will be people that say, oh, ego, no, Tank lost. You guys have to hold him to a standard. If somebody such as myself is telling you a perspective in how to score boxing, are you going to accept from them just saying, no, he lost because I said so? That's something parents do. Mom, could I spend the night at my friend's house? No. Why? Because I said so. You know what I mean? Boxing doesn't work off of because I said so, right? You have people who are scoring the fight, right? And 3 different individuals on this card scored 5 of the first 6 rounds for Tank. That would put Lamont Roach in it would put him in an almost unforgivable predicament and situation that he would not be able to get out of. There's no way you could get out of that unless you knock somebody out, which he didn't, or unless you get several knockdowns. You're too far in the hole. If you lose, and Tank is the champion, so I know he won more rounds after round 7. You can't tell me that Lamont Roach flushed him round 7 through 12, and Tank didn't win a single round before. And then beyond that, different people scored round 1 and 2 a little bit different. You could have gave Tank both of those rounds easy. So if he wins the first 6, he scores a draw. And if he wins at least one more round, then he wins the fight, right? And I don't think it was a fight where Tank won the first 6 and then he lost the last 6. It wasn't even that type of fight. I'm not arguing because, Lamont Roach's stock grows from it, and, it is what it is. And Tank kept his belt. So I'm not even really mad at it. I'm just breaking down how boxing works and scoring. So again, you could take my word for it, or you could listen to the people who are just simply saying, no, Tank lost because I said he lost, but I'm not willing to give you any type of scorecard, any explanation. Just trust me on this one, bro. He lost. I mean, if as a boxing fan, that's all you need, then you're not really my type of boxing fan anyway. This is too hard to come back from. I repeat, this is too hard to come back from. You were down, and that's something Lamont Roach perhaps would have to work on. But you lost too many rounds up front. And without a knockdown or a knockout, you're not winning the fight. Against the champion, you're not winning the fight. So although it was more competitive than people thought and things of that nature, close but no cigar, and I really think Tank made the fight harder than he needed to be. He could have boxed and then just picked his shots and, made it a certain type of fight. But to me, it seemed like whatever that hair grease, kneeling, it just put him in a different mood or mindset, and it changed the kind of tempo of the fight. Another thing to notice is I was doing a live Boxing Ego Watch Party, BWP, right? When Larry Hazzard's scorecard kept showing up on the screen, like you're seeing right now, and it said, this is Larry Hazzard's scorecard. And I was talking about it during the watch party, right? And they were showing it on Amazon Prime pay-per-view. And it said Davis won round 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And had him winning those many rounds. Nobody complained. I repeat, nobody. So mind you, we didn't know what was to come with Tank kneeling later in the fight in round 9. That hadn't happened. So when this Larry Hazzard scorecard kept popping up on the screen, and round after round, it kept showing that Tank won most of the first 6 rounds, nobody complained. Nobody said that Larry Hazzard's scorecard was crazy or this was outrageous. But now, because this weird scenario happened where Tank took a knee and he said grease, and now that became a quote controversy, and Lamont Roach started doing better after that moment, right? Just in general, in the later rounds, now people are trying to make it into some controversial, like it was some controversial beat down and things like that. Tank's face looked cool and clean at the end of the fight, if we're really being honest. So like I'm saying, Hamza Shiraz, Carlos Adames, that wasn't a majority draw. This at best is a majority draw, but I really thought Tank won the fight. I really thought he won the fight outright, especially as the champion and banking so many of those early rounds. And he did get some rounds, at least a round or two in the back half of the fight, which again would put him up. So I keep proving you guys don't know about boxing and you don't know how to score boxing. That's why you're confused. That's why to you it's a robbery. And many of the people and personalities, even the people in boxing that are trying to make this into this major conspiracy, they've already expressed they didn't like Tank from the beginning, right? Like fighters. You have fighters who they never liked Tank. So why would you expect them, if they have beef with him, or if they went back and forth and argued with Tank or diss Tank or Tank's diss them, why would you expect them to give you a scorecard? Meanwhile, I'm just a content creator and I'm breaking it down. These people who are hating on Tank, they're not showing you receipts. They're just saying Tank lost, it's a robbery. That's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to say that and try to, pile drive and dogpile Tank right now because people are saying it. You don't get no credit over here for that. You get credit for doing what I'm doing. Being a person who speaks based on passion, shows the right way. I don't care what way people are going. I'm telling you how to score boxing, and I'm telling you why the fight played out like it did, and how a Tank win is not inconceivable like the haters are trying to make it out to be. They're not telling you anything. They just keep saying Tank won or Tank lost. Tank didn't win. That's it. I don't do that. I don't make Tank lost videos with no explanation. If I thought Tank lost, I would say it. Period. That's how I always got down. So these scorecards prove everything I already knew, where Lamont Roach losing too many rounds up front and then doing better in the back half and not getting that. It's not just the kneel down thing, but the ref didn't call it right or whatever. You're going to lose, bro, because there was no 10-8 rounds. There were no 10-8 rounds with the ref not calling that kneel down. So you have to score it accordingly. So based on that, Tank wins, or at best a majority draw. But even if you did score the 10-8 round, he still lost too many rounds up front. So I don't see how the majority draw has people so up in arms and, allegedly ready to riot and stuff like that. It wasn't even that type of fight. Tank was landing some mean stuff. He didn't get blown out CompuBox wise. And we know he was landing the harder shots. Lamont Roach, fair play. He did his thing. He was game. But again, you don't get extra credit because you quote made the champion work or quote made the champion look bad or whatever people thought. That's not how you score boxing. You don't get additional points because you, like, if two fighters win, and see, this is what confuses a lot of people with scoring. I call them quiet rounds versus loud rounds. You could just box somebody, right, and have a 10-9 round. But then the next round, somebody makes you do a funny dance with your leg. That's still a 10-9 round unless they drop you or unless they beat you down so crazy, almost to the point of stoppage. Then you would put it a 10-8 round or whatnot, right? And people get so confused like that. The guy who, like Virgil Ortiz, had a late round with Madrimov, I want to say round 9, where he was going berserk. So that's a 10-9 round, like some of his earlier rounds that weren't even as good as that particular round. You get me? That's just boxing. That's how you score it. And again, to drive this point home for the people who want to challenge me, the best in the business, and it's not even close, I'll give you an analogy. It's like bowling, right? A strike means you knock down all 10 pins. So if you go to a bowling alley with your friend and then you put your name, Ego, and your friend John Doe and Sarah, right? And everybody got their name on the screen in the scoreboard, right? A strike is you cleared all 10 pins, so that represents 10 points. So if you are a professional bowler and you have the perfect arc and you roll it perfectly and you don't go past the line and you get a strike, boom, knock all the pins down. The roll looks amazing. It has the tight spiral, the professionals that be bowling, and you hit all 10 pins, that's called a strike. You get 10 points. But if you don't cheat and go past the line, but you roll it and the ball rolls out slow, or you roll it, what we used to call it granny style, like between your legs, and you knock down all 10 pins and get a strike, guess what? Whether it was ugly or whether it was pretty, whether it was granny style bowling or you're a professional bowler, knocking down 10 is a strike and you get 10 points for it. So because you made it look cleaner, or it never went close to the gutter and it was perfectly in the center, guess what? You still get the same amount of points. You get the same amount of points for that. That's exactly how boxing scoring is. And it be chewing some of y'all up because y'all don't know about boxing. A strike is 10 points. A strike is a strike is a strike. Granny styles is 10 points. Or if you're a perfect bowler with perfect form, it's still the same points. Boxing, if you win the round and it's just a standard round, no point deductions, no knockdown, it's a 10-9 round. If somebody has a more authoritative, louder round without any point deductions or anything extra, which this fight didn't have, it's still a 10-9 round. So yeah, Lamont Roach, go watch it again. All the Tank haters, go watch the fight again. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that.